Good day. We hope you're enjoying this Memorial Day as we start with a thank you to all of our veterans and service members for the sacrifices, the service to country. We'll have more on the meaning of Memorial Day. It's more than picnics and barbecues. It's about something far more solemn. We'll have on that later in the newscast. But we begin with the dangerous and deadly weather now on the move and really wreaking havoc across several states. More than 20 people dead in a series of thunderstorms and tornadoes. Hundreds of thousands still without power. Major cities bracing for what could be a dangerous night ahead. The weather has also led to ground stops, major airports affected with millions heading home from the holiday weekend. We are live at the busiest airport in the world with the latest. Plus the stunning new details on the soap opera actor who was shot and killed in Los Angeles, allegedly in an altercation over his car. We'll have the latest on the search for suspects. And why Israel's top leader is calling a strike that killed dozens of people in a Rafah tent camp a, quote, tragic incident. The reaction coming in tonight from around the world. Then this is just a week. The jury should get the case in the hush money case against former President Trump. We'll review tomorrow's closing arguments coming up later. Good day, I'm Tom Costello in for Hallie, and we begin with a tornado watch here in the D.C. area as tens of millions across the Northeast are targeted by a line of dangerous storms really battering parts of the country from the Gulf Coast, to the Great Lakes. In just the last few minutes, we are learning the devastating weather has now claimed at least 22 lives from Texas to Kentucky. Residents now sifting through what's left of their homes, like you see there in Dawson, Kentucky. Take a look at this massive twister that touched down about 2 hours west of Bowling Green, Kentucky. The governor says that single tornado was on the ground for at least 40 miles. This was the view from inside a gas station in North Texas, where dozens of people took shelter as the tornado ripped through. The terrifying moments the tornado hit, caught on camera. Take a listen. You can hear the fear and the chaos as it all unfolded there. Thankfully, no deaths or injuries reported. It comes as we're hearing harrowing stories of survival and the aftermath of these destructive storms that wiped out this small community. Take a listen to one conversation NBC's Priscilla Thompson had.
What was going through your mind?
I don't want to die.
And I feel you getting emotional. What's happening right now?
Because that's what I thought. Me and my family were going to die.
The White House says the president talked to governors of some of the affected states today to promise federal support as needed, as many of those communities are in the dark right now. More than 333,000 people across parts of the South and the Midwest don't have power going into the evening. NBC's Kathy Park is on the ground right now in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. And Kathy, the images we are seeing coming out of this area really devastating. What are you seeing and hearing right now?
Hey there, Tom. Yeah, the images that we're seeing, it's just heartbreaking, quite frankly, to see it up close. Everywhere you turn, you see toppled trees, and we're talking about massive trees that have fallen onto roadways, down power lines, as well as homes completely leveled, like the one you see behind me. And just to give you a little backstory on this home, we were told that an elderly couple in their 90s were actually on this bed behind me at the height of the storm, and they weren't able to get to the basement in time when the storm hit overnight. They heard the warnings but couldn't get to the basement, and then they saw their house just completely get torn apart by the extreme winds. Fortunately, Tom, they are doing okay, but we heard from their son. He also lost his home as well. Take a listen.
They were in bed and covered up with stuff, but they are not hurt. They made it.
What is it like seeing your neighborhood like this?
Oh, it's terrible, terrible, terrible. You won't never be the same, never.
And Tom, Governor Andy Beshear had a press conference earlier today. He says the death toll from these storms, it has now climbed to at least 4. One person is fighting for his life. Right now, the governor is touring some of these hard-hit communities. 14 counties have declared a state of emergency. I think you mentioned just a few minutes ago, there was one tornado that touched down that traveled at least 40 miles. And Tom, this portion of western Kentucky, they are no strangers to extreme weather. In fact, back in 2021, there was another massive tornado that blew through. That storm killed more than a dozen people and wiped out roughly 50% of the community.
I mean, look at the devastation behind you there, Kathy. My gosh. I mean, all those twisted trees, just amazing. And I understand nearly 130,000 people are still without power. So what are the state and local authorities doing about that to get people back on their feet? And what does the path to recovery look like when you've got just massive, massive devastation?
Yeah. Right. So you said it. Tens of thousands are still without power. Crews are working around the clock to restore power. But we're told that the power infrastructure took a really big hit. And we're told, according to officials, it could take several days for everyone to get back online. But because of this emergency declaration that the governor has issued for the Commonwealth, that has activated the National Guard. So they will be out and about getting everyone back on their feet, hopefully, in the next couple of days.
Okay, Kathy, thank you very much. Let's bring in meteorologist Michelle Grossman. Michelle, so what are we expecting tonight and over the next few days? Here in the D.C. area, we've had a tornado watch just in the last couple of minutes.
You do. Hi there, Tom. You're going to see that through 11 o'clock tonight. The good news is we don't have the power with the storms that we had over the weekend. Still could see a tornado or two. Still could see impactful storms with some gusty winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. Could see some hail, really heavy downpours. We're concerned about that, especially with people on the roadways. But still 63 million people under the risk for severe storms as we go throughout tonight. We're looking at anywhere from New England, the Great Lakes, into the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, the Carolinas, the Southeast. So this is a big area. And then look, as you stretch back to the Southern Plains, Dallas also in a slight risk. So these are the likeliest spots for seeing some strong storms. And we are seeing storms at this hour. This is what radar looks like right now. Very scattered across the country. The eastern half of the nation, a little unsettled. The western half looking really good. But you could see even storms in the upper Midwest and northern plains. That rotation right there, bringing the chance for some severe storms. We do have severe thunderstorm warnings. That's where you see those orange boxes corresponding to this. Then you see the yellow here. That's a severe thunderstorm watch. That means their ingredients are there to see some storms. Same story as we go throughout portions of the Mid-Atlantic. Tom, you just mentioned this tornado watch box. And we do have severe thunderstorm warnings right now in portions of the Carolinas, also in Virginia. Notice these bright colors here. That's part of the story. This is tapping into really warm, humid air, and that's why we're expecting the chance of some really heavy downpours. Could see 4 to 5 inches in some spots. Tom, you mentioned those airport delays. We're going to see more of them as we go throughout the evening. And if you're on the roadways, you need to be careful. Back to you.
Good, Michelle, thank you.
Sure.
So you mentioned the weather is creating travel problems today, grounding flights at major airports just as some folks head home from this long holiday weekend. Take a look now at some of the airports seeing the biggest delays right now. No surprise, LaGuardia, Newark, and JFK in the New York City area, more than 100 delays each as severe storms have passed through the area. Issues are also popping up for travelers at Boston Logan and Reagan National Airport here in Washington. And things are only going to get busier over the next few days, with the FAA forecasting 44,000 flights today, 47,000 tomorrow, 49,000 on Wednesday. And that's after the TSA screened a record number of airline passengers on Friday, nearly 3 million, the highest number ever on a single day. Let's check in on this in Atlanta, the nation's busiest airport, with Priya Sridhar. And talk to us about what you're seeing right there.
Yeah, Tom, well, you know better than anyone else that every time there's been a holiday in the recent past, we've been breaking those records. As you mentioned, 3 million passengers screened on Friday by the TSA, 18 million between Thursday and Sunday. So many of those travelers, as you mentioned, are trying to head home today. But as Michelle and Kathy just discussed, there has been severe weather moving from the Midwest to the east, which is causing a lot of delays. And actually, the FAA did issue a ground stop at one point at LaGuardia, JFK, and here in Atlanta. I got a chance to catch up with a passenger during that ground stop who told me that her flight actually got canceled. Take a listen.
I'm pretty anxious, just anxiety, because we were already traveling on Memorial Day. And so then to get here with all the people and then have to, endure that. And, we've traveled 3 hours here.
And so where do things stand right now? Well, nationwide across the United States airports, there have been 4,921 delays today and 423 cancellations. Unfortunately, we may see those numbers go up as those severe weather systems and those warnings that you guys were just talking about continue to happen over the next several hours, Tom.
Yeah, it's a lot of delays. All right, Priya Sridhar, thank you very much in Atlanta. To Los Angeles now, where the LAPD is looking for 3 suspects allegedly involved in the deadly shooting of a 37-year-old actor best known for his work on the soap opera General Hospital. Police say Johnny Wachter walked up on 3 men trying to steal the catalytic converter off of his car when one of them pulled a gun and shot him. The suspects fled the scene. Paramedics tried to revive him, but Wachter was pronounced dead at a local hospital. NBC's Morgan Chesky is joining us now from L.A. Morgan, this is terrifying. What do police know about what happened specifically, and do they have any leads at all on suspects?
Yeah, Tom, if they do, they are not sharing them with us at this time. LAPD only calling this a very active investigation and urging the public to share any tips or leads that could be helpful in tracking down these culprits. Thieves trying to get that catalytic converter that are now, wanted murderers for opening fire on this 37-year-old actor. We do have a little information about him here. Johnny Wachter, of course, worked on General Hospital for more than 150 episodes here. And this shooting took place around 3 in the morning, Saturday morning in Los Angeles. We're told by family members and by police that Wachter had worked at a nearby bar and was walking to his car with a coworker when he encountered these men, initially thinking that they were trying to tow his vehicle. He asked that question, and then, according to authorities and his mother, when he saw that the man was wearing a mask, that's when he stepped in front of his coworker, and that's when that individual opened fire, fatally wounding the 37-year-old actor. Tom?
Oh, geez. Morgan, the other point here that we've been talking about for, it seems, years, catalytic converters remain very popular targets for thieves.
They absolutely do, and important to note that this is not an isolated incident or crime. In fact, it's become so prevalent over the last several years. There have been more than a dozen states that have actually filed legislation to try to crack down on the theft and or resale value on the black market. You can see the spike right here, Tom, 900% between 2019 2023. And get this, they can get $20 to $350 to resell these on the black market. But if you're the car owner who gets hit, it's going to cost you or insurance upwards of $2,500. Tom, you don't have to be a mathematician to know that if it happens frequently enough, that can drive up insurance premiums. So
it's the raw
incredibly
metals?
Tragic ending.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the raw metals that... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Precious metals inside these catalytic converters are what the thieves are after, not the catalytic converters themselves. They, in some cases, can be pulled apart, mined down to get these trace metals that are precious enough to warrant the spike in thefts that we've seen. Incredibly tragic that a person lost his life for it. Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Morgan, thank you very much. Overseas now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is calling the airstrike on a refugee tent camp, which killed 35 civilians in Rafah, a, quote, tragic incident. The aftermath video is horrific. Dozens of displaced refugees trapped as the fire raged through tents, killing mostly women and children. It is the latest Israeli action to draw condemnation from top world leaders. Netanyahu says Israel will investigate how this happened. He says the strike was meant to target Hamas leaders, but it also hit innocent people. And it comes just hours after Hamas fired new rockets into Tel Aviv for the first time in months. NBC's Rafah Sanchez has more from the region.
The images coming out of Rafah are causing shock and sparking condemnation all around the world. Here's what we know. Families were sleeping in their tents in the early hours of this morning. Many of these tents made of plastic, made of wood. when this Israeli airstrike came crashing down, and then all hell broke loose, according to survivors speaking to our team in Gaza. They say flames ripped through this tent encampment. Children were screaming, and ultimately around 40 people killed, according to the emergency services in Hamas-run Gaza. Many of them women and children, some of them apparently burned to death. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a pretty unusual statement in front of the Israeli parliament, called this a tragic mishap and said Israel will investigate what happened here. The Israeli military says the strike did succeed in killing 2 senior Hamas commanders alleged to have been involved in the planning of attacks in the occupied West Bank. The IDF says it took measures ahead of time to try to reduce civilian casualties, but there is now this operation underway. Now, the White House is saying the images coming out of Rafah are, quote, heartbreaking. They say Israel has the right to pursue Hamas after the October 7th attack, but that it must take every possible precaution to protect Palestinian civilians before launching strikes. We have heard stronger condemnation from President Macron of France and from senior UN officials. And today, those families, many of whom were displaced several times over the course of the war, are picking through the charred remains of what were their tents, and they are moving on, hoping to find safety somewhere else. Back to you.
All right, Raf Sanchez, thank you very much. The government of Papua New Guinea now says more than 2,000 people may have been buried alive after a devastating landslide there destroyed a large village in the center of the nation. That's an island just off the northeast coast of Australia. The government estimate is about 3 times the UN estimate of 670 killed by the landslide. The actual location is very remote in the mountainous interior of the country, and that's making search, rescue, and recovery efforts very difficult as emergency teams search for survivors and then recover the victims. NBC's Megan Fitzgerald is joining us now. And Megan, you're watching this all from London. What's the latest?
Tom, look, I can tell you in speaking with UN officials earlier today, this is an all-out race against time, really a devastating situation. I mean, these folks were sleeping. This happened on Friday in the middle of the morning, if you will, at 3 a.m. when this landslide was triggered, this mudslide triggered. We understand that 150 homes at least were buried underneath the rubble. And you know, they're using sticks, they're using their hands to try and get to the people that are trapped beneath. We know, according to the government, that more than 2,000 people are trapped. That number is not confirmed but not denied, but the number that the UN is going with is closer to 700 people that are trapped. Look, this is an area that is prone to natural disasters. They have seen volcano eruptions, they have seen earthquakes, they've seen their fair share of mudslides, and that really goes to the heart of the issue here. Many of those roads that are accessing this remote village are devastated. It's very difficult to now access the area that's in desperate need, which then means that they're not able to quickly and efficiently get that heavy machinery that's needed to be able to get on the ground to start digging and getting to these people who are trapped. So again, UN saying this is a race against time. Right now, we know fewer than 10 people have been able to be recovered, but this is a long mission ahead to try and get these folks out. Tom?
You know, to underscore what you were just saying, those pictures and the video, we don't see any heavy rescue excavation equipment, right? These people are digging with shovels and their hands. What do we make of the discrepancy between what the government says on how many people may have died and the UN estimate, which is quite a bit less? One has to assume the local government has a better feel for that, and it's going to matter in terms of the UN and the international response to this emergency, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, so the government, they have said that there's roughly around 3,000 people that are in this town. We know that because of the tribal wars that have been going on in the area, there's a lot of displaced people that are there, so that number may have increased. They are saying that it's more than 2,000. The UN is saying, look, you know, there's a lot that we don't know here. We're talking about massive amounts of rubble that have buried homes. People were sleeping. We don't know exactly what it is. So they're being a little bit more cautious. But But the bottom line here is that we're talking about a significant issue of people that are trapped right now, a desperate and urgent need to try and get these people out, roads that aren't accessible, and heavy machinery that's needed. People on the ground desperate, doing everything they can, as you said, using their own hands, poles, shovels to try and get to these people. But this most certainly is a race against time and a huge issue that this rural village is facing, Tom.
Absolutely desperate. Megan, thank you very much. Back here in the United States, tomorrow kicks off the beginning of the end of former President Trump's hush money trial, with lawyers for the defense and the prosecution trying to convince jurors of who they should believe one last time before the case goes to the jury. 12 New Yorkers who've been sitting through weeks of testimony will decide if the former president is guilty of falsifying business records to cover up payments to an adult film star ahead of the 2016 election. It's in their hands. It comes after more than 80 hours of testimony from more than 20 witnesses, 6 weeks so far, 200 pieces of evidence. How this all shakes out is something a lot of people are watching, whether that's from their TV screens or literally from outside the courthouse. Some people have already been lining up there. NBC's Dasha Burns joins me now. Dasha, talk us through what we can expect over the next few days and when might this all wrap up?
So, Tom, tomorrow morning, the defense will begin their closing arguments. The defense goes first, then the prosecution. And remember, this is not a place where they're going to bring up new evidence, make new arguments. This is the process by which both legal teams remind the jury of the key points in the case that they are trying to make. You mentioned it there. Hours of testimony, many, many witnesses, many pieces of evidence. So, Tom, I think back to the first witness, David Pecker. That feels like a lifetime ago. Imagine if you are one of those 12 jurors who has actually sat through and watched all of this. The job of both teams is to remind those jurors the case that they are making. The defense is going to try to undercut the prosecution's witnesses, particularly Michael Cohen. The prosecution is going to remind the jurors that they have seen corroborating evidence in addition to everything that the witnesses have said. And then Wednesday morning, Tom, a critical point where the judge will give instructions to the jury. This really matters because this sets up the roadmap for how the jury is going to deliberate, what bits of information, what aspects of the case they should and shouldn't take into account. And there was a bit of a debate between the defense and the prosecution with the judge last week as they were arguing for what they shouldn't and shouldn't include in those jury instructions. So the judge will hand off those jury instructions, and then the 12 New Yorkers are going to lock themselves in a room and deliberate until they can come to some sort of consensus. When will we get a verdict? I know that is the million-dollar question. It could be this coming week, or it could take longer than that, depending on how in alignment these folks are.
Okay, Dasha, we'll be watching, as will you. Thank you very much. Busy week ahead. Coming up from us, President Biden laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier in a somber tradition, marking the true meaning behind Memorial Day. Plus, why America's child care shortage is pushing some military families out of the military. That's next. Across the country on this Memorial Day, Americans have been remembering the million-plus heroes, a million-plus, who have given their lives for the country. Rather than a day of celebration, this is a day for the nation to express appreciation and respect to the men and women who have fallen. From Valley Forge to Gettysburg to Verdun to Normandy and Pearl Harbor to Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the war on terror. Brave Americans who made the ultimate sacrifice. With ceremonies today across the country, President Biden participated in a wreath-laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknowns today before heading to Arlington National Cemetery to commemorate the fallen troops. NBC White House correspondent Hallie Rafah joins us now. And Hallie, the president really treated this day with solemnity and the deep respect that is appropriate, even mentioning his own son, Beau, who died after his service.
Yeah, Tom, that's right. President Biden using this tradition of going to Arlington National Cemetery on Memorial Day to really remind Americans what the real meaning behind Memorial Day is, as well as tell Americans what his personal connection is to not just Memorial Day, but the feeling of loss that so many Americans are feeling today. He mentioned his late son, Bo, as you mentioned, and how he's preparing to mark the 9th anniversary of Bo's death this coming Thursday. The president for years has said that he believes that Bo's brain cancer diagnosis was caused by his exposure to toxic burn pits while he was serving overseas in Iraq. And that's really been a motivating factor for the president and first lady during their term, really advocating for military families, for Gold Star families. The president hosting Gold Star families at the White House this morning for a breakfast before he left to Arlington National Cemetery. And during that speech he delivered, he talked about his work advocating for Gold Star families, as well as retired and active military members. And also during that speech, he made a point to stress how freedom isn't free, Tom. He talked about, as you mentioned, the more than 1 million men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Take a listen to a bit of his speech here.
Freedom has never been guaranteed. Every generation has to earn it, fight for it, defend it in battle between autocracy and democracy, between the greed of a few and the rights of many. It matters, and just as our fallen heroes have kept the ultimate faith with our country and our democracy, we must keep faith with them.
The president talking about how indebted we all are to those men and women. He also made a point to talk about how vital and critical the U.S. military's role is in protecting democracy, not just here in the United States, but all across the world. He talked about the different roles and jobs that the U.S. military has all over the world in protecting and doing that. And then he also made a point to mention how these service members don't swear an oath to any one party or idea or president, that they swear an oath to the Constitution, Tom.
More than 1 million have died since the Revolutionary War. Hallie, Rafah, thank you very much. And on a day where we honor military sacrifice, we're looking at an issue that affects those who currently serve. Families across the country have been struggling with child care shortages since the pandemic, something that's especially difficult for military families. You may be surprised to learn the Department of Defense is the largest employer-run child care operator in the country. But active service members say it's not enough because they're often required to relocate on short notice, and they can be stationed in areas with few options for care. Plus, they often work unconventional hours when most centers are not open. It's a serious issue that could have big consequences on the nation's ability to retain its soldiers. NBC Shannon Pettypiece is here with us on this story. Shannon, you've been reporting this out, and you spoke to an officer who literally says she may have to leave the service because of the challenges posed by not being able to easily find childcare, right?
Yeah, she said that's something she's considered. She told me she has jumped out of planes. She has led a route clearing platoon in Afghanistan. But childcare, that has been the biggest challenge of her military career. With all the moves her family has been through, being able to ensure there is someone there to watch her kids so she and her husband, who's also in the Army, can perform their duties. Here's a little bit more of what she had to say to me.
People are putting their names on wait lists, 18 months before they actually need a slot for their child. I have friends who've paid deposits for children that they haven't even conceived yet. And we just don't have that capability in the military because most of us don't know where we're going to be in a year or a year and a half, just based on the fact that we are moving where the Army needs us to move.
And she said that in a lot of instances, people in the military are given 2 months' notice, not enough time to secure childcare. And in a survey by Blue Star Families, they found that a third of military spouses said they can't find the childcare in order to work. So they are having, by circumstances, to stay home with the children, making it increasingly financially difficult for families to get by now on just one military salary, especially in high cost of living places like Washington, D.C.
And there's a national security implication here, right? If you've got especially if you've got two service members who are working full time in the military and they struggle to find childcare for their child or children.
Yeah. I mean, Defense Department officials are aware of this issue, and they do say it is clearly a recruitment and retention issue that they see. They do not want to be losing service members, particularly those further along in their careers who have skills and leadership that the military has spent years developing. They don't want to be losing them because of childcare. But like every other childcare provider, they too are struggling to hire enough workers. The Army has about 1 in 5 childcare positions are vacant right now. They're having to compete not only with other childcare providers, but with schools, with fast food networks. This labor crunch is hitting them as well and just exacerbating these childcare issues.
And by the way, these are people who struggle with childcare, not just when they're based here, but overseas as well.
Right. An enormous burden for these families.
Shannon, thank you very much. Good reporting there. Let's get you over now to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about today. Number 1, a major cyclone has hit India and Bangladesh, killing at least 16 people, cutting off power to millions. It's the first major cyclone of the year. You can see the heavy flooding there. The storm also destroyed tens of thousands of homes and disrupted travel. Number 2, a suspect is in custody after 6 people were stabbed in Massachusetts. Police say 4 girls were stabbed at a movie theater. They all had to go to the hospital, the youngest just 9 years old. State police say the suspect later drove to a McDonald's and allegedly stabbed 2 employees. He was arrested after a chase, and he will be arraigned tomorrow. Number 3, basketball legend Bill Walton has died after battling cancer. You'll remember he was a 2-time national champion at UCLA, and then 2 NBA titles during his Hall of Fame career. He later became a colorful, very colorful broadcaster for NBC and ESPN. He was 71. Number 4, boxer Mike Tyson is apparently feeling better after a medical episode on a flight from Miami to Los Angeles. 57-year-old's personal team says he became nauseous and dizzy from an ulcer flare-up about 30 minutes before landing. His team says he's grateful to the medical staff and that he is now, in their words, doing great. Tyson is about 2 months out from returning to the ring. He is set to fight YouTuber Jake Paul in July. Coming up from us, our exclusive interview on the road, on the ground in Taiwan for the very first time, U.S. delegation meeting the country's new leaders. Then we'll stay in that region and look into a key question. How prepared is Taiwan for an invasion by China? That's coming up next. In Taiwan tonight, a U.S. congressional delegation is wrapping up its first day of meetings with the newly elected Taiwanese president. Members of Congress are there to show U.S. support during a very tense moment between Taiwan and China. Take a listen.
Chairman Xi has bold and aggressive ambitions, and we just need to do everything we can to make it possible for him to see that the risk outweighs the reward. I do think the deterrence we will provide, and we're providing by our presence here today, will help prevent that.
And this matters because China really did not want this meeting to happen today, and Beijing has been making that clear, holding 2 days' worth of threatening military exercises off the coast of Taiwan in the last week. NBC's Ryan Nobles is the only television correspondent embedded with the delegation. He joins us now from Taiwan. And Ryan, you spoke exclusively with Chairman McCall after his meeting with Taiwan's president. What did he have to say about why Americans should be concerned about China potentially being very aggressive and even invading Taiwan?
Well, Chairman McCall had a long list of reasons why Americans should be concerned, Tom. There's obviously a national security interest just from the strategic location of where Taiwan exists, right off the coast of China, in a very important region for global, domestic, and international security. But there's also an economic concern here as well. Taiwan is very important in the technology space. In fact, everyone watching us this morning, or this evening, I should say, where you are, is probably taking advantage of a semiconductor that was produced here on the island of Taiwan. And if China were to attack, the production, the supply chain related to those semiconductors would be in serious jeopardy. Listen to what McCall said could possibly happen. I know you're very concerned and interested in the semiconductor industry. How vital is that component of it.
Yeah, people don't understand that Taiwan manufactures 90% of the advanced semiconductor chips for the world. If China were to invade today and either own or break companies like TSMC, it would literally shut down everything.
So it's not just an inconvenience for Americans if the semiconductor supply chain were to be interrupted. It could actually shut things down, Tom. One of the many reasons that Chairman McCall and these members of Congress believe the United States needs to continue to support Taiwan. Tom.
You know, Ryan, I saw the map and even the video showing what the Chinese military is doing just off the coast. Are people in Taiwan concerned? Are they worried right now?
You know, it's fascinating, Tom, and it's something you can only learn by actually being here about how little they seem to be concerned about China ramping up its military exercises. These are things that these people on this island have been dealing with for basically their entire lives, and for the most part, they just brush it off. Take a listen to what one of them told me. You know, China had military exercises this week. They do that pretty frequently. Does that ever worry you?
Not much, because that's almost become a part of our daily life. Yeah. That's just, you know, just like beasts. Just, you know, roar. Yeah, to the air.
So they know it's happening. It's not to say that they aren't concerned about it, but in general, they believe that this is just a part of their daily lives. And what the Taiwanese people that I spoke to said is that they want things just to remain the same. They want to be able to self-govern. They want freedom. They want democracy. But at the same time, they're not ready to outright declare independence. They just don't want China to creep any closer to where things currently exist. Tom?
Yeah, fascinating interview. Ryan, it doesn't look like you've been up, or you've been up all night, I should say, 12 hours ahead of the East Coast. So thanks very much for your great reporting. Ryan Nobles. And staying on the topic of Taiwan, specifically the potential invasion from China. It's a threat that experts say is real and could happen quicker than we might expect. Our Ken Delanian looked into how China could invade and what the U.S. must do to stop it, to prevent a possible global catastrophe. Take a look.
These striking images of Chinese warships off the coast of Taiwan this month, a dire warning of a potential invasion that could disrupt the global technology supply chain, plunge the world into an economic catastrophe, and start a hot war between the U.S. and China. And according to one geopolitics expert, an actual invasion could be over before the U.S. even has a chance to respond.
So a lot of people assume that this would be sort of a Normandy type of beach landing. The reality is the terrain does not allow it.
Dmitry Alperovitch predicted the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and now in a new book, he lays out how China could seize Taiwan. First, he says, the Chinese would mount a lightning-fast assault from the air and the sea.
You're still going to move amphibious assault ships across the strait. Each of them can deliver about 800 troops and, more importantly, dozens of troop transport helicopters as well as gunships to do an airborne assault. They can reach the two airports within 10 to 15 minutes.
They can do that by parking them in international waters. And Taiwan would feel constrained from firing first because that would be seen as provoking a war.
You're going to have these transport ships, mostly civilian vessels, and have been loaded with hundreds of thousands of troops, armored vehicles, tanks, logistics that you need to occupy an island of 23 million people.
To cover the attackers, Alperovitch says, China would strike Taiwan's defenses from afar.
You're going to have bombers launched from the mainland. You're going to have the largest cruise missile and ballistic missile and rocket forces in the world, pummeling fixed radar installations, pummeling naval facilities, pummeling communication nodes.
Then, he predicts, Chinese Marines in huge airboats would rush up the river leading to the center of the capital city, Taipei.
All of this can happen literally within the first 30 minutes of action.
All the while, he says, the U.S. president facing an awful choice. Allow the aggression to stand or launch a war that could kill more Americans than World War II. So why is Taiwan so vital to U.S. and global interests? One reason? Taiwan manufactures almost 70% of the world's semiconductors, those tiny boards used in everything from phones and laptops to life-saving medical devices and the vast server networks that power American industry. And if China invades, experts say, the U.S. or Taiwan is likely to destroy those factories, which would spell economic disaster for much of the world. Or if China manages to capture the factories and keep them operational, it would leap ahead in the world's most important technologies. Alperovich says that would harm American prosperity and security. But so would a war with China.
In the first year of that war, global depression right off the bat.
And that assumes it doesn't go nuclear.
That's right.
Intelligence agencies and military leaders have been warning for years that China is working on plans to seize Taiwan by force. The admiral in charge of U.S. Pacific Command told Congress in March that, quote, all indications point to the People's Liberation Army meeting Xi Jinping's alleged goal of potentially invading Taiwan by 2027.
We haven't faced a threat like this since World War II.
China has spent the last 2 decades modernizing its military to be able to destroy American ships in the Pacific.
You're going to lose ships. You're going to lose a lot of sailors. You're going to lose thousands, potentially even tens of thousands of American troops.
Alperovich says the U.S. must make containing China the focus of its foreign policy.
The United States has to make it clear to them that the cost of this conflict are going to be too huge for the Chinese economy.
He says that means ending U.S. reliance on China for things like critical minerals and solar panels. And it means arming Taiwan in a way that would make an invasion much more painful than it would be today. All to influence the calculations of the Chinese president.
We want him to wake up every single day and look at himself in the mirror as he is shaving and say, today is not the day.
Yeah, our thanks to Ken Delaney for that very sobering report. NBC covers hundreds of stories each day, and it's awfully tough to read, to watch, or listen to all of them. So our bureau teams have done it for you and for me. This is what they tell us is going down in the regions, and we call this segment The Local. Out of our Western Bureau, 2 people rescued from a Salt Lake City chapel engulfed in flames. Firefighters were called to the building early yesterday morning. Witnesses say they heard screams coming from the second floor, the balcony there, actually. The building had been closed for years for safety reasons, but police say that has not stopped trespassers. From our Northeast Bureau, a popular New Jersey boardwalk reopened today after being shut down during a state of emergency. Wildwood police say they put restrictions in place overnight due to, quote, civil unrest. No specific crimes or incidents mentioned in the announcement, though. A teenager was stabbed at a different New Jersey beach over the weekend. Out of our Southern Bureau, the Animal Minimal Regatta, the annual Minimal Regatta, highlights Memorial Day weekend celebrations in Key West. Each team has to build a boat out of plywood, duct tape, and fasteners. And as you can see, some of the ships sank right away. The fastest, most creative, and even the least successful boats are among the prizes that are awarded. Still ahead from us, paradise overrun. How deer have been wreaking havoc on Catalina Island. The controversial debate now over population control for the deer. That's ahead in tonight's original. We're back, and now to tonight's original in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching tonight. Residents of an idyllic California island are in a showdown over deer. There are too many of them, and it could have dangerous consequences. But there is a real difference of opinion on how to solve this problem. NBC's Danny Griffin has that story.
Catalina Island's charming coastal town, population 3,300, attracts more than 1 million visitors each year to take in relaxing small-town vibes in rolling hills.
Located just 26 miles off the coast of California, most people reach Catalina by ferry.
Today, we're getting a guided tour of what ecologists say is a concerning threat to the island's ecological future: mule deer. The deer were brought to the island for hunting about 100 years ago and have overpopulated to nearly 2,000, according to the Catalina Island Conservancy.
This is the uninhabited interior of the island, where Conservancy officials say deer have wreaked havoc on the ecosystem by eating native plants.
which makes room for invasive dry grasses to grow that could become a fire hazard.
Unfortunately, recent events like those that took place in Lahaina, Hawaii, are a really stark reminder of the importance of proactive conservation efforts, and that's what we're doing here.
Lauren Dinhart is the island's senior director of conservation. She pointed out examples along our journey.
This is one of the plants that the deer don't eat, and even though it's green right now, it's soon going to turn all into this. This is going to be a plant that could catch on fire very, very easily.
In parts of the island, the Conservancy built these exclosures to keep deer away from those vital plants that capture much-needed moisture.
Wow. So
this is a lot different from what we saw outside of this.
Here, there are noticeably bigger and more diverse plants.
They smell like grape Jolly Ranchers.
That does smell like a Jolly Rancher. No wonder they're called deer candy.
Yeah, exactly.
Experts say the rest of the island could look like this if the deer were gone.
It would just be one action that changes the fate of the island forever.
But the action they want to take includes shooting deer from helicopters. Several other communities have completed or are considering similar moves that have caused growing debate, like the feral hogs in South Carolina that have caused millions in damages to homes, riverbanks, and golf courses, and Idaho's wolf population that have killed cattle and profits from ranchers. In Catalina, residents say the deer have become part of their community and believe killing them is inhumane.
If somebody's out there hiking and they're going to shoot from helicopters, how are you going to protect those people? The life of a plant is never going to be more important to me than the life of a living creature.
If approved, Conservancy officials have said that hunting would occur in the interior of the island away from people.
It's uncomfortable, but humans are responsible for this situation.
Dr. Winston Vickers, who has been involved in other eradication programs, says the most humane way is the quickest.
We sometimes have to grow up and put on our big person pants and do the things that are difficult.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife will ultimately decide if the Conservancy can kill the deer. In a statement to NBC News, CDFW says it is waiting for additional submissions from the Conservancy before any decision on issuing the permit is made. Hunting is allowed on the island 6 months out of the year, but officials say it's still not enough to tackle the issue. Opponents have suggested sterilization and transporting the deer off island, but Conservancy officials say trying to catch them could trigger capture myopathy.
Capture myopathy is a disease. It creates a condition where they essentially get so stressed out, they can die from it. It's a really painful and stressful death.
The deer may have captured the hearts of residents, but in a world of accelerated climate change, these cute four-legged friends will likely be sacrificed to preserve the island for generations to come.
And Dana Griffin is joining us now. All right, Dana, before we get to the Q&A here, everybody in the studio said, oh, no, when they saw your stand up there on the side of that cliff. I'm hoping that you had a belt on or you were strapped in or something and that a gust of wind wouldn't have taken you over the side.
You know, it looks scarier than it actually is. There's like another side to the back of that rock, so it looks like you're kind of teetering there, but there was so much land back there, so I can kind of see why everyone freaked out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody heard what you said because all of us said, oh, no. Listen, how quickly do you expect a decision from California Fish and Wildlife?
Yeah, Tom, so while the Conservancy owns the land, it's actually CDFW that's going to issue the permit on the method that they can kill these deer. Now, the Conservancy says this is an ecological conundrum. They've got to deal with it because they don't want to pass this on to the next generation. So they say they're possibly looking at additional options, but they make it clear that these deer have got to go. And so the CDFW says they're going to wait for more documentation and they could issue a decision within a few months. Tom?
Excellent reporting. Really good. And thank you for that good in-depth reporting. Dana Griffin in L.A. for us. Coming up, the holiday weekend box office coughs up a hairball. Why the lackluster numbers for Garfield and Furiosa should not be a signal of panic for the entire summer. We'll see. We'll check into it. Well, you know, tonight, the summer box office is playing catch-up after what's being called the worst Memorial Day holiday weekend for theaters in 3 decades. While we saw the hit phenomenon, that was really Barbenheimer last summer, right? It swept the country, bringing in nearly $1 billion to U.S. box offices. Well, this year it's looking just a little different. Studios are now betting big on sequels, on prequels, on animated films to fill the Barbenheimer-shaped hole with Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, with Bad Boys, Ride or Die, and Inside Out 2. Let's bring in now NBC News entertainment analyst Chris Witherspoon. Chris, other than Memorial Day in 2020, when theaters were closed due to COVID, these are the lowest ranking numbers, the lowest earning movies since 1995. And it was also the first Memorial Day weekend without a Marvel movie in over a decade. So what's happening and why aren't these movies resonating?
Listen, Tom, this is crazy. It has not been a picnic at the box office this weekend. This normally is the time to kick off the summer, the big money that they make at the box office. Listen, at the end of the day, they did not make the money that they were expected to make. $31.5 million for the Garfield film and $32 million for Mad Max Furiosa. A lot of folks aren't familiar with these franchises. They're not really big names attached to them. I loved Anna Taylor-Joy in The Queen's Gambit, but she's not a really huge name. You look at a film that came out earlier on this year with, it was Ryan Reynolds for The Fall Guy. That film was in theaters for about 17 days before it went to streaming. So a lot of people are recognizing if I just hold out and wait a bit, I can be at home in my PJs watching it on Netflix or paying on Prime VOD to watch it.
No, 100%. I mean, I say that to my wife every weekend. You know, you want to go to a movie or watch it on Netflix? Netflix is more convenient. But listen, is this the after effect from last year's saga after a strike in Hollywood when we didn't have a lot of people churning out movies?
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely is. You got to keep in mind, Hollywood was truly in havoc last year, and they thought to move a lot of their big productions back to be released next year, which makes a lot of sense when you stop and think about it. But I also think that they are betting on those bigger tentpole films, bringing folks to theaters this season, including films like Bad Boys, Twister, Deadpool, Wolverine. Those are two big names in the Marvel universe, and the first time they're teaming up, the first Marvel R-rated film as well. So they're betting on those films, but I think this weekend is like one of those slow sort of crawls towards the bigger films that will be coming out this summer.
All right. Well, we'll be watching. Pretty painful Memorial Day, that's for sure. Chris Witherspoon, thank you very much. That's a wrap for us this hour. The coverage resumes right now on News Now. Good day. We hope you're enjoying this Memorial Day, and we start out with a thank you, a sincere thank you to all of our veterans and service members for their sacrifice, for their service to the country. We'll have more on the meaning of Memorial Day. It's not about barbecues and picnics. It is about a solemn reminder and remembrance. That's later in the newscast. But we begin with the dangerous and deadly weather now on the move and really wreaking havoc across many states. More than 20 people dead in a series of thunderstorms and tornadoes. Real serious. Hundreds of thousands still without power. Major cities bracing for what could be a dangerous night ahead. The weather has also led to ground stops at major airports. Millions, of course, are heading home from the holiday weekend. We are live at the busiest airport in the world with the latest. Plus, the stunning new details on the soap opera actor who was shot and killed in Los Angeles, allegedly over an altercation about his car's catalytic converter. We'll have the latest on the search for suspects. And why Israel's top leader is calling a strike that killed dozens of people in a Rafah tent camp a, quote, tragic incident. The reaction coming in tonight from around the world. Then this is the week the jury should get the case in the hush money case trial against former President Trump. We will review tomorrow's closing arguments also later in the newscast. Good day, I'm Tom Costello. I'm in for Hallie on this Memorial Day. We begin with a tornado watch here in the greater D.C. area as tens of millions across the Northeast are targeted by a line of dangerous storms battering parts of the U.S. from the Gulf Coast to the Great Lakes. In just the last hour, we're learning the devastating weather has now claimed at least 22 lives from Texas to Kentucky. Residents are now sifting through what's left of their homes. Take a look there. Dawson, Kentucky. Dawson Springs, Kentucky. Take a look at the massive twister that touched down about 2 hours west of Bowling Green, Kentucky. This is massive. The governor says that single tornado was on the ground for at least 40 miles. And the view from inside a gas station in North Texas, where dozens of people took shelter as a tornado ripped through. The terrifying moments of this tornado hitting were caught on camera. Take a listen. Yeah, chaos and terror there as it all unfolded. Thankfully, no deaths or injuries reported. It comes as we're hearing really of harrowing stories of survival in the aftermath of these destructive storms that wiped out the small community. Here's just one conversation NBC's Priscilla Thompson had.
What was going through your mind?
I don't want to die.
And I feel you getting emotional. What's happening right now?
Because that's what I thought. Me and my family were going to die.
Yeah, just nothing left of her house there. The White House says the president talked to the governors of some of the affected states to promise federal support as needed, as many of those communities are now in the dark or going into a dark night. More than 325,000 people across parts of the South and the Midwest don't have power going into the evening. NBC's Kathy Park is on the ground in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. And Kathy, at least 4 people, I should say, in Kentucky died because of this weather. Which parts of the state were the hardest hit, and where do these communities go from here?
Well, Tom, Governor Andy Beshear said earlier today that 14 counties have declared a state of emergency. Western Kentucky was hit particularly hard, and that includes Dawson Springs, where we are. And everywhere you turn, Tom, the devastation is pretty rampant and widespread. You see these massive trees toppled over, down power lines, and homes completely flattened. In fact, this home behind me, we were told that there was an elderly couple. They were in their bedroom at the height of the storm. They're in their 90s, so they were not able to make it to the basement in time as a storm blew through overnight. And despite the warnings, they couldn't get there in time, and they just had their house completely torn apart with these extreme winds. Fortunately, though, Tom, we were told that they are okay. Incredibly, they survived. We had a chance to speak with their son earlier today, and he also lost his home as well. Take a listen.
They were in bed and covered up with stuff, but they are not hurt. They made it.
What is it like seeing your neighborhood like this?
Oh, it's terrible, terrible, terrible. You won't never be the same. Never.
And Tom, keep in mind, this is a rural part of Kentucky. Farming and agriculture play a really big role in so many lives here. And Harvey, you just heard him there. He said he lost cattle and horses, so it's a tough road to recovery here for him.
Yeah, and the area is no stranger to extreme weather. In just the last couple of years, parts of Kentucky have been really hit hard, right? Destructive storms. How does what people there see over the weekend compare to what they've seen over the past few storms?
Yeah, Tom, I was here back in 2021, December of 2021. Mayfield, Kentucky, which is a neighboring community, was slammed by another powerful twister, and we are just right by Mayfield right now. Fortunately, that community wasn't impacted by the Memorial Day storms, but Dawson Springs was, and we're told, according to Andy Beshear, after his initial assessment, it could have been a lot worse in this community. That go around in 2021, dozens of lives were lost here so far in Kentucky. 4 people killed. 1 person is fighting for his life. But the governor did mention that folks here, after that powerful storm that swept through in 2021, folks here are a lot more weather aware because they understand the extremity, the severe weather that now goes through this portion of the country, but also the frequency as well, Tom.
Yeah, it's only Memorial Day. We have a long summer ahead of us. Kathy, thank you very much. Let's bring in Michelle Grossman, who is watching it all from her weather post. Michelle, give us a sense of what's coming over the next few hours.
Yeah, well, we have some storms that we're tracking right now. The good news is it doesn't have the power that we saw over the weekend, but by tomorrow we're going to see stronger storms targeting the south. So let's look at what's happening right now. This is what radar looks like right now. Plenty busy at the moment, even though the storms don't have the power that we saw over the weekend, still are bringing impacts to the region, especially along the east coast here, down into the southeast. But we're not alone. Even back to portions of the Midwest, the upper Midwest, we're looking at that spin right there. Lots of lightning, heavy rainfall, severe thunderstorm warnings. That's where you're seeing that orange box. We have severe thunderstorm watch boxes. That's in the yellow. That's for the next couple of hours. And you can see some severe thunderstorms working its way through Georgia into portions of South Carolina. That's what we're going to watch over the next couple of hours. And then notice as we go up through the mid-Atlantic, portions of the Carolinas into the northeast, into portions of the Great Lakes, the interior parts of the northeast and mid-Atlantic, we're looking at the chance for strong storms, and we're looking at them right now. Here is a tornado warning in portions of eastern North Carolina. That is where where you see the red. So if you're in this area, you want to get to the lowest level of your house. If you don't have a basement, get to an interior room, a closet, a powder room would be the best bet on the lowest level. But this this tornado watch is in effect until 11 o'clock tonight. So we still do have the chance of seeing some strong storms. Mainly, we're going to see some really gusty winds. We're going to see the chance for hail, some really heavy downpours, but we could see a tornado or two. Further to the north, we're watching that heavy rain falling throughout portions of the Northeast into New England. Still 63 million Americans under the risk for severe storms as we go throughout the next couple of hours. Tom, we're talking all the way from the Great Lakes to the Southeast and back through the South Central states. So just a huge area that will be looking at the chance for strong storms tonight. Back to you.
Boy, that is big. Wow.
It is.
Michelle, thank you very much. Okay.
Sure.
Well, the bad weather is creating real travel problems today, grounding flights at major airports just as some folks head home from the long weekend. Here's a look at some of the airports we're watching. They have big delays right now. In New York, of course, no surprise, LaGuardia, Newark, and JFK, more than 100 delays each as severe storms have been passing through that region. Issues also popping up for travelers at Boston Logan and Reagan National Airport here in Washington. And things are only going to get busier over the next few days. The FAA forecasting 44,000 flights today, 47,000 tomorrow, 49,000 on Wednesday. And that's after the TSA screened a record number of airline passengers on Friday, nearly 3 million. That's the highest ever on a single day. NBC's Priya Sridhar is in Atlanta for us. Talk to us about what you're seeing right there.
Yeah, Tom, well, you know better than anyone else that every time there's been a holiday in the recent past, we've been breaking those records. As you mentioned, 3 million passengers screened on Friday by the TSA, 18 million between Thursday and Sunday. So many of those travelers, as you mentioned, are trying to head home today. But as Michelle and Kathy just discussed, there has been severe weather moving from the Midwest to the east, which is causing a lot of delays. And actually, the FAA did issue a ground stop at one point at LaGuardia, JFK, and here in Atlanta. I got a chance to catch up with a passenger during that ground stop who told me that her flight actually got canceled. Take a listen.
I'm pretty anxious, just anxiety, because we were already traveling on Memorial Day. And so then to get here with all the people and then have to, endure that. And, we've traveled 3 hours here.
And so where do things stand right now? Well, nationwide across the United States airports, there have been 4,921 delays today and 423 cancellations. Unfortunately, we may see those numbers go up as those severe weather systems and those warnings that you guys were just talking about continue to happen over the next several hours, Tom.
Yeah, it's a lot of delays. All right, Priya Sridhar, thank you very much in Atlanta. All right, well, the LAPD now, Los Angeles, is looking for 3 suspects allegedly involved in the deadly shooting of a 37-year-old actor, best known for his work on the soap opera General Hospital. Police say Johnny Wachter walked up on 3 men trying to steal the catalytic converter off his car when one of them pulled a gun and then shot him. The suspects then fled the scene. Paramedics tried to revive him, but Wachter was pronounced dead at a local hospital. NBC's Morgan Chesky is joining us now. This is terrifying. What do police know about what happened specifically, and do they have any leads at all on suspects?
Yeah, Tom, if they do, they are not sharing them with us at this time. LAPD only calling this a very active investigation and urging the public to share any tips or leads that could be helpful in tracking down these culprits. Thieves trying to get that catalytic converter that are now, wanted murderers for opening fire on this 37-year-old actor. We do have a little information about him here. Johnny Wachter, of course, worked on General Hospital for more than 150 episodes here, and this shooting took place around 3 in the morning, Saturday morning in Los Angeles. We're told by family members and by police that Wachter had worked at a nearby bar and was walking to his car with a coworker when he encountered these men, initially thinking that they were trying to tow his vehicle. He asked that question, and then, according to authorities and his mother, when he saw that the man was wearing a mask, that's when he stepped in front of his coworker, and that's when that individual opened fire, fatally wounding the 37-year-old actor. Tom?
Oh, geez. Morgan, the other point here that we've been talking about for, it seems, years, catalytic converters remain very popular targets for thieves.
They absolutely do. And important to note that this is not an isolated incident or crime. In fact, it's become so prevalent over the last several years. There have been more than a dozen states that have actually filed legislation to try to crack down on the theft and or resale value on the black market. You can see the spike right here, Tom, 900% between 2019, 2023. And get this, they can get $20 to $350 to resell these on the black market. But if you're the car owner who gets hit, it's going to cost you or insurance upwards of $2,500. Tom, you don't have to be a mathematician to know that if it happens frequently enough, that can drive up insurance premiums. So
it's the raw
incredibly
metals.
tragic ending.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the raw metals that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Precious metals inside these catalytic converters are what the thieves are after, not the catalytic converters themselves. They, in some cases, can be pulled apart, mined down to get these trace metals that are precious enough to warrant the spike in thefts that we've seen. Incredibly tragic that a person lost his life for it. Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Morgan, thank you very much. Overseas now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is calling the airstrike on a refugee tent camp, which killed 35 civilians in Rafah, a, quote, tragic incident. The aftermath video is horrific. Dozens of displaced refugees trapped as the fire raged through tents, killing mostly women and children. It is the latest Israeli action to draw condemnation from top world leaders. Netanyahu says Israel will investigate how this happened. He says the strike was meant to target Hamas leaders, but it also hit innocent people. And it comes just hours after Hamas fired new rockets into Tel Aviv for the first time in months. NBC's Rafah Sanchez has more from the region.
The images coming out of Rafah are causing shock and sparking condemnation all around the world. Here's what we know. Families were sleeping in their tents in the early hours of this morning. Many of these tents made of plastic, made of wood, when this Israeli airstrike came crashing down, and then all hell broke loose, according to survivors speaking to our team in Gaza. They say flames ripped through this tent encampment. Children were screaming, and ultimately around 40 people killed, according to the emergency services in Hamas-run Gaza. Many of them women and children, some of them apparently burned to death. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a pretty unusual statement in front of the Israeli parliament, called this a tragic mishap and said Israel will investigate what happened here. The Israeli military says the strike did succeed in killing 2 senior Hamas commanders alleged to have been involved in the planning of attacks in the occupied West Bank. The IDF says it took measures ahead of time to try to reduce civilian casualties, but there is now this operation underway. Now, the White House is saying the images coming out of Rafah are, quote, heartbreaking. They say Israel has the right to pursue Hamas after the October 7th attack, but that it must take every possible precaution to protect Palestinian civilians before launching strikes. We have heard stronger condemnation from President Macron of France and from senior UN officials. And today, those families, many of whom were displaced several times over the course of the war, are picking through the charred remains of what were their tents, and they are moving on, hoping to find safety somewhere else. Back to you.
All right, Rafah Sanchez, thank you very much. The government of Papua New Guinea now says more than 2,000 people may have been buried alive after a devastating landslide there destroyed a large village in the center of the nation. That's an island just off the northeast coast of Australia. The government estimate is about 3 times the UN estimate of 670 killed by the landslide. The actual location is very remote in the mountainous interior of the country, and that's making search, rescue, and recovery efforts very difficult as emergency teams search for survivors and then recover the victims. NBC's Megan Fitzgerald is joining us now. And Megan, you're watching this all from London. What's the latest?
Tom, look, I can tell you in speaking with UN officials earlier today, this is an all-out race against time, really a devastating situation. I mean, these folks were sleeping. This happened on Friday in the middle of the morning, if you will, at 3 a.m. when this landslide was triggered, this mudslide triggered. We understand that 150 homes at least were buried underneath the rubble. And they're using sticks. They're using their hands to try and get to the people that are trapped beneath. We know, according to the government, that more than 2,000 people are trapped. That number is not confirmed but not denied, but the number that the UN is going with is closer to 700 people that are trapped. Look, this is an area that is prone to natural disasters. They have seen volcano eruptions, they have seen earthquakes, they've seen their fair share of mudslides, and that really goes to the heart of the issue here. Many of those roads that are accessing this remote village are devastated. It's very difficult to now access the area that's in desperate need, which then means that they're not able to quickly and efficiently get that heavy machinery that's needed to be able to get on the ground to start digging and getting to these people who are trapped. So again, UN saying this is a race against time. Right now, we know fewer than 10 people have been able to be recovered, but this is a long mission ahead to try and get these folks out. Tom?
To underscore what you were just saying, those pictures and the video, we don't see any heavy rescue excavation equipment, right? These people are digging with shovels and their hands. What do we make of the discrepancy between what the government says on how many people may have died and the UN estimate, which is quite a bit less? One has to assume the local government has a better feel for that, and it's going to matter in terms of the UN and the international response to this emergency, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, so the government, they have said that there's roughly around 3,000 people that are in this town. We know that because of the tribal wars that have been going on in the area, there's a lot of displaced people that are there, so that number may have increased. They are saying that it's more than 2,000. The UN is saying, look, there's a lot that we don't know here. We're talking about massive amounts of rubble that have buried homes. People were sleeping. We don't know exactly what it is. So they're being a little bit more cautious. But the bottom line here is that we're talking about a significant issue of people that are trapped right now, a desperate and urgent need to try and get these people out, roads that aren't accessible, and heavy machinery that's needed. People on the ground desperate, doing everything they can, as you said, using their own hands, poles, shovels to try and get to these people. But this most certainly is a race against time and a huge issue that this rural village is facing, Tom.
Absolutely desperate. Megan, thank you very much. Back here in the United States, tomorrow kicks off the beginning of the end of former President Trump's hush money trial, with lawyers for the defense and the prosecution trying to convince jurors of who they should believe one last time before the case goes to the jury. 12 New Yorkers who've been sitting through weeks of testimony will decide if the former president is guilty of falsifying business records to cover up payments to an adult film star ahead of the 2016 election. It's in their hands. It comes after more than 80 hours of testimony from more than 20 witnesses, 6 weeks so far, 200 pieces of evidence. How this all shakes out is something a lot of people are watching, whether that's from their TV screens or literally from outside the courthouse. Some people have already been lining up there. NBC's Dasha Burns joins me now. Dasha, talk us through what we can expect over the next few days and when might this all wrap up?
So, Tom, tomorrow morning, the defense will begin their closing arguments. The defense goes first, then the prosecution. And remember, this is not a place where they're going to bring up new evidence, make new arguments. This is the process by which both legal teams remind the jury of the key points in the case that they are trying to make. You mentioned it there. Hours of testimony, many, many witnesses, many pieces of evidence. So, Tom, I think back to the first witness, David Pecker. That feels like a lifetime ago. Imagine if you are one of those 12 jurors who has actually sat through and watched all of this. The job of both teams is to remind those jurors the case that they are making. The defense is going to try to undercut the prosecution's witnesses, particularly Michael Cohen. The prosecution is going to remind the jurors that they have seen corroborating evidence in addition to everything that the witnesses have said. And then Wednesday morning, Tom, a critical critical point where the judge will give instructions to the jury. This really matters because this sets up the roadmap for how the jury is going to deliberate, what bits of information, what aspects of the case they should and shouldn't take into account. And there was a bit of a debate between the defense and the prosecution with the judge last week as they were arguing for what they shouldn't and shouldn't include in those jury instructions. So the judge will hand off those jury instructions, and then the 12 people, 12 New Yorkers, are going to lock themselves in a room and deliberate until they can come to some sort of consensus. When will we get a verdict? I know that is the million-dollar question. It could be this coming week, or it could take longer than that, depending on how in alignment these folks are.
Okay, Dasha, we'll be watching, as will you. Thank you very much. Busy week ahead. Coming up from us, President Biden laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier in a somber tradition, marking the true meaning behind Memorial Day. Plus, why America's child care shortage is pushing some military families out of the military. That's next. Across the country on this Memorial Day, Americans have been remembering the million-plus heroes, a million-plus, who have given their lives for the country. Rather than a day of celebration, this is a day for the nation to express appreciation and respect to the men and women who have fallen. From Valley Forge to Gettysburg to Verdun to Normandy and Pearl Harbor to Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the war on terror. Brave Americans who made the ultimate sacrifice. With ceremonies today across the country, President Biden participated in a wreath-laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknowns today before heading to Arlington National Cemetery to commemorate the fallen troops. NBC White House correspondent Hallie Rafah joins us now. And Hallie, the president really treated this day with solemnity and the deep respect that is appropriate, even mentioning his own son, Beau, who died after his service.
Yeah, Tom, that's right. President Biden using this tradition of going to Arlington National Cemetery on Memorial Day to really remind Americans what the real meaning behind Memorial Day is, as well as tell Americans what his personal connection is to not just Memorial Day, but the feeling of loss that so many Americans are feeling today. He mentioned his late son, Beau, as you mentioned, and how he's preparing to mark the 9th anniversary of Beau's death this coming Thursday. The president for years has said that he believes that Beau's brain cancer diagnosis was caused by his exposure to toxic burn pits while he was serving overseas in Iraq. And that's really been a motivating factor for the president and first lady during their term, really advocating for military families, for Gold Star families. The president hosting Gold Star families at the White House this morning for a breakfast before he left to Arlington National Cemetery. And during that speech he delivered, he talked about his work advocating for Gold Star families, as well as retired and active military members. And also during that speech, he made a point to stress how freedom isn't free, Tom. He talked about, as you mentioned, the more than 1 million men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Take a listen to a bit of his speech here.
Freedom has never been guaranteed. Every generation has to earn it, fight for it, defend it in battle between autocracy and democracy, between the greed of a few and the rights of many. It matters, and just as our fallen heroes have kept the ultimate faith with our country and our democracy, we must keep faith with them.
The president talking about how indebted we all are to those men and women. He also made a point to talk about how vital and critical the U.S. military's role is in protecting democracy, not just here in the United States, but all across the world. He talked about the different roles and jobs that the U.S. military has all over the world in protecting and doing that. And then he also made a point to mention how these service members don't swear an oath to any one party or idea or president, that they swear an oath to the Constitution, Tom.
More than 1 million have died since the Revolutionary War. Hallie Rafah, thank you very much. And on a day where we honor military sacrifice, we're looking at an issue that affects those who currently serve. Families across the country have been struggling with child care shortages since the pandemic, something that's especially difficult for military families. You may be surprised to learn the Department of Defense is the largest employer-run childcare operator in the country. But active service members say it's not enough because they're often required to relocate on short notice, and they can be stationed in areas with few options for care. Plus, they often work unconventional hours when most centers are not open. It's a serious issue that could have big consequences on the nation's ability to retain its soldiers. NBC's Shannon Pettypiece is here with us on this story. Shannon, you've been reporting this out, and you spoke to an officer who literally says she may have to leave the service because of the challenges posed by not being able to easily find childcare, right?
Yeah, she said that's something she's considered. She told me she has jumped out of planes. She has led a route clearing platoon in Afghanistan. But childcare, that has been the biggest challenge of her military career. With all the moves her family has been through, being able to ensure there is someone there to watch her kids so she and her husband, who's also in the Army, can perform their duties. Here's a little bit more of what she had to say to me.
People are putting their names on wait lists, 18 months before they actually need a slot for their child. I have friends who've paid deposits for children that they haven't even conceived yet. And we just don't have that capability in the military because most of us don't know where we're going to be in a year or a year and a half, just based on the fact that we are moving where the Army needs us to move.
And she said that in a lot of instances, people in the military are given 2 months' notice, not enough time to secure childcare. And in a survey by Blue Star Families, they found that a third of military spouses said they can't find the childcare in order to work. So they are having, by circumstances, to stay home with the children, making it increasingly financially difficult for families to get by now on just one military salary, especially in high cost of living places like Washington, D.C.
And there's a national security implication here, right? If you've got two, especially if you've got two service members who are working full time in the military, and they struggle to find childcare for their child or children.
Yeah. I mean, Defense Department officials are aware of this issue, and they do say it is clearly a recruitment and retention issue that they see. They do not want to be losing service members, particularly those further along in their careers who have skills and leadership that the military has spent years developing. They don't want to be losing them because of childcare. But like every other childcare provider, they too are struggling to hire enough workers. The Army has about 1 in 5 childcare positions are vacant right now. They're having to compete not only with other childcare providers, but with schools, with fast food networks. This labor crunch is hitting them as well and just exacerbating these childcare issues.
And by the way, these are people who struggle with childcare, not just when they're based here, but overseas as well.
Right. An enormous burden for these families.
Shannon, thank you very much. Good reporting there. Let's get you over now to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about today. Number 1, a major cyclone has hit India and Bangladesh, killing at least 16 people, cutting off power to millions. It's the first major cyclone of the year. You can see the heavy flooding there. The storm also destroyed tens of thousands of homes and disrupted travel. Number 2, a suspect is in custody after 6 people were stabbed in Massachusetts. Police say 4 girls were stabbed at a movie theater. They all had to go to the hospital, the youngest just 9 years old. State police say the suspect later drove to a McDonald's and allegedly stabbed 2 employees. He was arrested after a chase, and he will be arraigned tomorrow. Number 3, basketball legend Bill Walton has died after battling cancer. You'll remember he was a 2-time national champion at UCLA, and then 2 NBA titles during his Hall of Fame career. He later became a colorful, very colorful broadcaster for NBC and ESPN. He was 71. Number 4, boxer Mike Tyson is apparently feeling better after a medical episode on a flight from Miami to Los Angeles. The 57-year-old's personal team says he became nauseous and dizzy from an ulcer flare-up about 30 minutes before landing. His team says he's grateful to the medical staff and that he is now, in their words, doing great. Tyson is about 2 months out from returning to the ring. He is set to fight YouTuber Jake Paul in July. Number 5, it's that time of year. You know it well. The annual cheese rolling race out of the UK. Who doesn't love this? The folks there chase wheels of double Gloucester cheese down a super steep hill. And it brings out the competitive spirit in these Brits. Very intense when cheese is on the line, of course. You can understand that. A lot of people on the ground there. And the winners, well, they get to keep the cheese. Coming up from us, our exclusive interview on the road, on the ground in Taiwan. For the very first time, U.S. delegation meeting the country's new leaders. Then we'll stay in that region and look into a key question. How prepared is Taiwan for an invasion by China? That's coming up next. In Taiwan tonight, a U.S. congressional delegation is wrapping up its first day of meetings with the newly elected Taiwanese president. Members of Congress are there to show U.S. support during a very tense moment between Taiwan and China. Take a listen.
Chairman, she has bold and aggressive ambitions, and we just need to do everything we can to make it possible for him to see that the risk outweighs the reward. I do think the deterrence we will provide, and we're providing by our presence here today, will help prevent that.
And this matters because China really did not want this meeting to happen today, and Beijing has been making that clear, holding 2 days worth of threatening military exercises off the coast of Taiwan in the last week. NBC's Ryan Nobles is the only television correspondent embedded with the delegation. He joins us now from Taiwan. And Ryan, you spoke exclusively with Chairman McCall after his meeting with Taiwan's president. What did he have to say about why Americans should be concerned about China potentially being very aggressive and even invading Taiwan?
Well, Chairman McCall had a long list of reasons why Americans should be concerned, Tom. There's obviously a national security interest just from the strategic location of where Taiwan exists, right off the coast of China, in a very important region for global, domestic, and international security. But there's also an economic concern here as well. Taiwan is very important in the technology space. In fact, everyone watching us this morning, or this evening, I should say, where you are, is probably taking advantage of a semiconductor that was produced here on the island of Taiwan. And if China were to attack, the production, the supply chain related to those semiconductors would be in serious jeopardy. Listen to what McCall said could possibly happen. I know you're very concerned and interested in the semiconductor industry. How vital is that component of it?
Yeah, people don't understand that Taiwan manufactures 90% of the advanced semiconductor chips for the world. If China were to invade today and either own or break companies like TSMC, it would literally shut down everything.
So it's not just an inconvenience for Americans if this semiconductor supply chain were to be interrupted. It could actually shut things down, Tom. One of the many reasons that Chairman McCall and these members of Congress believe the United States needs to continue to support Taiwan. Tom.
You know, Ryan, I saw the map and even the video showing what the Chinese military is doing just off the coast. Are people in Taiwan concerned? Are they worried right now?
You know, it's fascinating, Tom, and it's something you can only learn by actually being here about how little they seem to be concerned about China ramping up its military exercises. These are things that these people on this island have been dealing with for basically their entire lives, and for the most part, they just brush it off. Take a listen to what one of them told me. You know, China had military exercises this week. They do that pretty frequently. Does that ever worry you?
Not much, because that's almost become a part of our daily life. Yeah. That's just, you know, just like beasts. Just, you know, roar. Yeah, to the air.
So they know it's happening. It's not to say that they aren't concerned about it, but in general, they believe that this is just a part of their daily lives. And what the Taiwanese people that I spoke to said is that they want things just to remain the same. They want to be able to self-govern. They want freedom. They want democracy. But at the same time, they're not ready to outright declare independence. They just don't want China to creep any closer to where things currently exist. Tom?
Yeah, fascinating interview. Ryan, it doesn't look like you've been up, or you've been up all night, I should say, 12 hours ahead of the East Coast. So thanks very much for your great reporting. Ryan Nobles. And staying on the topic of Taiwan, specifically the potential invasion from China. It's a threat that experts say is real and could happen quicker than we might expect. Our Ken Delaney looked into how China could invade and what the U.S. must do to stop it, to prevent a possible global catastrophe. Take a look.
These striking images of Chinese warships off the coast of Taiwan this month, a dire warning of a potential invasion that could disrupt the global technology supply chain, plunge the world into an economic catastrophe, and start a hot war between the U.S. and China. And according to one geopolitics expert, an actual invasion could be over before the U.S. even has a chance to respond.
So a lot of people assume that this would be sort of a Normandy type of beach landing. The reality is the terrain does not allow it.
Dmitry Alperovich predicted the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And now, in a new book, he lays out how China could seize Taiwan. First, he says, the Chinese would mount a lightning-fast assault from the air and the sea.
You're still going to move amphibious assault ships across the strait. Each of them can deliver about 800 troops and, more importantly, dozens of troop transport helicopters as well as gunships to do an airborne assault. They can reach the two airports within 10 to 15 minutes.
They can do that by parking them in international waters. And Taiwan would feel constrained from firing first because that would be seen as provoking a war.
You're going to have these transport ships, mostly civilian vessels, and have been loaded with hundreds of thousands of troops, armored vehicles, tanks, logistics that you need to occupy an island of 23 million people.
To cover the attackers, Alperovich says, China would strike Taiwan's defenses from afar.
You're going to have bombers launched from the mainland. You're going to have the largest cruise missile and ballistic missile and rocket forces in the world, pummeling fixed radar installations, pummeling naval facilities, pummeling communication nodes.
Then, he predicts, Chinese Marines in huge airboats would rush up the river leading to the center of the capital city, Taipei.
All of this can happen literally within the first 30 minutes of action.
All the while, he says, the U.S. president facing an awful choice. Allow the aggression to stand or launch a war that could kill more Americans than World War II. So why is Taiwan so vital to U.S. and global interests? One reason, Taiwan manufactures almost 70% of the world's semiconductors, those tiny boards used in everything from phones and laptops to life-saving medical devices and the vast server networks that power American industry. And if China invades, experts say, the U.S. or Taiwan is likely to destroy those factories, which would spell economic disaster for much of the world. Or if China manages to capture the factories and keep them operational, it would leap ahead in the world's most important technologies. Alperovich says that would harm American prosperity and security. But so would a war with China.
In the first year of that war, global depression right off the bat.
And that assumes it doesn't go nuclear.
That's right.
Intelligence agencies and military leaders have been warning for years that China is working on plans to seize Taiwan by force. The admiral in charge of U.S. Pacific Command told Congress in March that, quote, all indications point to the People's Liberation Army meeting Xi Jinping's alleged goal of potentially invading Taiwan by 2027.
We haven't faced a threat like this since World War II.
China has spent the last 2 decades modernizing its military to be able to destroy American ships in the Pacific.
You're going to lose ships. You're going to lose a lot of sailors. You're going to lose thousands, potentially even tens of thousands of American troops.
Alperovich says the U.S. must make containing China the focus of its foreign policy.
The United States has to make it clear to them that the cost of this conflict are going to be too huge for the Chinese economy.
He says that means ending U.S. reliance on China for things like critical minerals and solar panels. And it means arming Taiwan in a way that would make an invasion much more painful than it would be today. All to influence the calculations of the Chinese president.
We want him to wake up every single day and look at himself in the mirror as he's shaving and say, today is not the day.
Yeah, our thanks to Ken Delaney for that very sobering report. NBC covers hundreds of stories each day, and it's awfully tough to read, to watch, or listen to all of them. So our bureau teams have done it for you and for me. This is what they tell us is going down in the regions, and we call this segment The Local. Out of our Western Bureau, 2 people rescued from a Salt Lake City chapel engulfed in flames. Firefighters were called to the building early yesterday morning. Witnesses say they heard screams coming from the second floor, the balcony there, actually. The building had been closed for years for safety reasons, but police say that has not stopped trespassers. From our Northeast Bureau, a popular New Jersey boardwalk reopened today after being shut down during a state of emergency. Wildwood police say they put restrictions in place overnight due to, quote, civil unrest. No specific crimes or incidents mentioned in the announcement, though. A teenager was stabbed at a different New Jersey beach over the weekend. Out of our Southern Bureau, the Animal Minimal Regatta, the annual Minimal Regatta, highlights Memorial Day weekend celebrations in Key West. Each team has to build a boat out of plywood, duct tape, and fasteners. And as you can see, some of the ships sank right away. The fastest, most creative, and even the least successful boats are among the prizes that are awarded. Still ahead from us, paradise overrun. How deer have been wreaking havoc on Catalina Island. The controversial debate now over population control for the deer. That's ahead in tonight's original. We're back, and now to tonight's original in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. Tonight, residents of an idyllic California island are in a showdown over deer. There are too many of them, and it could have dangerous consequences. But there is a real difference of opinion on how to solve this problem. NBC's Danny Griffin has that story.
Catalina Island's charming coastal town, population 3,300, attracts more than 1 million visitors each year to take in relaxing small town vibes in rolling hills.
Located just 26 miles off the coast of California, most people reach Catalina by ferry.
Today, we're getting a guided tour of what ecologists say is a concerning threat to the island's ecological future: mule deer. The deer were brought to the island for hunting about 100 years ago and have overpopulated to nearly 2,000, according to the Catalina Island Conservancy.
This is the uninhabited interior of the island, where Conservancy officials say deer have wreaked havoc on the ecosystem by eating native plants,
which makes room for invasive dry grasses to grow that could become a fire hazard.
Unfortunately, recent events like those that took place in Lahaina, Hawaii, are a really stark reminder of the importance of proactive conservation efforts, and that's what we're doing here.
Lauren Dinhard is the island's senior director of conservation. She pointed out examples along our journey.
This is one of the plants that the deer don't eat, and even though it's green right now, it's soon going to turn all into this. This is going to be a plant that could catch on fire very, very easily.
In parts of the island, the Conservancy built these exclosures to keep deer away from those vital plants that capture much-needed moisture.
Wow. So this is a lot different from what we saw outside of this.
Here, there are noticeably bigger and more diverse plants.
They smell like grape Jolly Ranchers.
That does smell like a Jolly Rancher. No wonder they're called deer candy.
Yeah, exactly.
Experts say the rest of the island could look like this if the deer were gone.
It would just be one action that changes the fate of the island forever.
But the action they want to take includes shooting deer from helicopters. Several other communities have completed or are considering similar moves that have caused growing debate, like the feral hogs in South Carolina that have caused millions in damages to homes, riverbanks, and golf courses, and Idaho's wolf population that have killed cattle and profits from ranchers. In Catalina, residents say the deer have become part of their community and believe killing them is inhumane.
If somebody's out there hiking and they're going to shoot from helicopters, how are you going to protect those people? The life of a plant is never going to be more important to me than the life of a living creature.
If approved, Conservancy officials have said that hunting would occur in the interior of the island away from people.
It's uncomfortable, but humans are responsible for this situation.
Dr. Winston Vickers, who has been involved in other eradication programs, says the most humane way is the quickest.
We sometimes have to grow up and put on our big person pants and do the things that are difficult.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife will ultimately decide if the Conservancy can kill the deer. In a statement to NBC News, CDFW says it is waiting for additional submissions from the Conservancy before any decision on issuing the permit is made. Hunting is allowed on the island 6 months out of the year, but officials say it's still not enough to tackle the issue. Opponents have suggested sterilization and transporting the deer off island, but Conservancy officials say trying to catch them could trigger capture myopathy.
Capture myopathy is a disease. It creates a condition where they essentially get so stressed out they can die from it. It's a really painful and stressful death.
The deer may have captured the hearts of residents, but in a world of accelerated climate change, these cute four-legged friends will likely be sacrificed to preserve the island for generations to come.
And Dana Griffin is joining us now. All right, Dana, before we get to the Q&A here, everybody in the studio said, "Oh, no," when they saw your stand up there on the side of that cliff. I'm hoping that you had a belt on or you were strapped in or something, and that a gust of wind wouldn't have taken you over the side.
You know, it looks scarier than it actually is. There's like another side to the back of that rock, so it looks like you're kind of teetering there, but there was so much land back there, so I can kind of see why everyone freaked out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure anybody heard what you said, because all of us said, "Oh, no." Listen, how quickly do you expect a decision from California Fish and Wildlife?
Yeah, Tom, so while the Conservancy owns the land, it's actually CDFW that's going to issue the permit on the method that they can kill these deer. Now, the Conservancy says this is an ecological conundrum. They've got to deal with it because they don't want to pass this on to the next generation. So they say they're possibly looking at additional options, but they make it clear that these deer have got to go. And so the CDFW says they're going to wait for more documentation, and they could issue a decision within a few months. Tom?
Excellent reporting. Really good. And thank you for that good in-depth reporting. Dana Griffin in L.A. for us. Coming up, the holiday weekend box office coughs up a hairball. Why the lackluster numbers for Garfield and Furiosa should not be a signal of panic for the entire summer. We'll see. We'll check into it. Well, you know, tonight, the summer box office is playing catch-up after what's being called the worst Memorial Day holiday weekend for theaters in 3 decades. While we saw the hit phenomenon, that was really Barbenheimer last summer, right? It swept the country, bringing in nearly $1 billion to U.S. box offices. Well, this year, it's looking just a little different. Studios are now betting big on sequels, on prequels, on animated films to fill the Barbenheimer-shaped hole. With Furiosa, a Mad Max saga with Bad Boys, Ride or Die, and Inside Out 2. Let's bring in now NBC News entertainment analyst Chris Witherspoon. Chris, other than Memorial Day in 2020 when theaters were closed due to COVID, these are the lowest ranking numbers, the lowest earning movies since 1995. And it was also the first Memorial Day weekend without a Marvel movie in over a decade. So what's happening and why aren't these movies resonating?
Listen, Tom, this is crazy. It has not been a picnic at the box office this weekend. This normally is the time to kick off the summer, the big money that they make at the box office. Listen, at the end of the day, they did not make the money that they were expected to make. $31.5 million for the Garfield film and $32 million for Mad Max Furiosa. A lot of folks aren't familiar with these franchises. They're not really big names attached to them. I loved Anna Taylor-Joy in The Queen's Gambit, but she's not a really huge name. You look at a film that came out earlier on this year with, it was Ryan Reynolds for The Fall Guy. That film was in theaters for about 17 days before it went to streaming. So a lot of people are recognizing if I just hold out and wait a bit, I can be at home in my PJs watching it on Netflix or paying on Prime VOD to watch it.
No, 100%. I mean, I say that to my wife every weekend. You know, you want to go to a movie or watch it on Netflix? Netflix is more convenient. But listen, is this the after effect from last year's saga after a strike in Hollywood when we didn't have a lot of people churning out movies?
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely is. You got to keep in mind, Hollywood was truly in havoc last year, and they thought to move a lot of their big productions back to be released next year, which makes a lot of sense when you stop and think about it. But I also think that they are betting on those bigger tentpole films, bringing folks to theaters this season, including films like Bad Boys, Twister, Deadpool, Wolverine. Those are 2 big names in the Marvel Universe, and the first time they're teaming up, the first Marvel R-rated film as well. So they're betting on those films, but I think this weekend is like one of those slow sort of crawls towards the bigger films that will be coming out this summer.
All right. Well, we'll be watching. Pretty painful Memorial Day, that's for sure. Chris Witherspoon, thank you very much. That's a wrap for us this hour. The coverage resumes right now on News Now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.